Why the hell do women so often freak the hell out when you suggest or tell them that they have a responsibility to protect themselves and to, not put themselves in situations where they could be harmed?
The answer to this is really simple. Name one situation that you can possibly think of where it is not possible for a woman to be harmed. If a woman is at home alone and it's the middle of the day and her neighbours are home and they know her, she's got a good neighbourly relationship with them, and she's got the doors and windows locked and she's at home alone, a home invader comes in and people will ask, well, what kind of locks? Were they good locks? Because I could break into that kind of lock. If I could, home invader could. The point being that we have to take the emphasis off what women are doing and put it on to what men are doing. It's not to say that we can't take precautions in our lives and be wary of situations. Certainly, it's good to learn martial arts. It's good to go to the gym. It's good to take up a sport if you're able to. A lot of things are good for you.
There's always a deluge when you suggest ways of prevention or self-protection or precaution that you're victim blaming. It's never a woman's fault, no matter what she did. I think there's a real problem here with not being able to understand that multiple things can be true at the same time. Okay? It is true that it is not a woman's fault if she is assaulted or raped. We agree about that. But the idea that you shouldn't warn women or that you shouldn't take precaution or steps to preserve or protect yourself is stupid and foolhardy, and honestly will put you back in the same situations if you're wanting to avoid that, or will put you in situations of harm. Okay? What is wrong with you?
The problem here isn't taking self-defense classes or warning each other about a particular man who may be dangerous or has been dangerous. All of those things are fine. There's no issue with that. The problem here is the focus on what she should have done. How she must be stupid if she didn't do it. And there is an assumption that all avenues are available to all women. And what we don't want to see is courtrooms asking women why they didn't do self-defense classes. It may be, that they didn't have the money or access, or it may be that the self-defense class is at night and she doesn't have a car. There's a lot of reasons going on in people's lives as to why things occur. And the idea that women are stupid if they don't go and do this is false. It's a false narrative that has been driven by men's rights activists and by people who don't want to believe women.
If somebody is trying to help and suggest, to women who may be unaware of potential danger.
So, which women would be unaware of potential danger? What, do they live in a cave? Have they never met a man? Have they never walked down a street or even a dirt track where other people live? Women and girls are aware of potential danger from the youngest of ages. It is one of the things that we become aware of, really sadly aware of, before we have the words to even describe what we understand. And if you talk to women and girls and actually bother to listen, you'll hear some pretty hair-raising stories from the majority who are over the age of 9.
You have a responsibility to protect yourself. You can't always be protected in this world. And if you don't have a sense of self-preservation, if you don't have a sense of not putting yourself in dangerous situations or being around sketchy people, then you're going to end up in situations that you don't like.
Okay, Terri. The reason people tell you that it's victim blaming is because you are victim blaming. You're literally blaming women for not having a sense of self-preservation using your wording. What actually goes on is people who have been in serious, elongated danger, particularly in childhood and even more so prior to the age of 7, when the brain is actually creating connections. The wiring then becomes permanently skewed. It doesn't go back to normal, and it can't. It's never actually been normal at that point in time. What happens is safety is relative to the experience in those years. So if safety wasn't present, then the fight, flight, freeze response operates differently in people who have been through that. So when you say don't have a sense of self-preservation, that's not actually true. It's a false understanding. Different sense of self-preservation would be correct. It's surviving extreme danger, elongated across time. But it also means that the nervous system doesn't know what safety looks like, doesn't know what safety feels like, and cannot actually create the unknown. That has to be learnt over time. So that's why people call it victim blaming, because it is victim blaming.
It is an inconvenient truth to some people because, they want to paint a narrative that women have no agency in this world. They want you to feel powerless, and, they don't want you to think critically about your behavior. Because honestly, the more of a victim you feel in this world, the more exploitable you are, the more easily led around you are. The more responsibility you take for yourself, and the more you actually consciously think about your safety and your own self-preservation, the less easily led around you are, the less you can be manipulated.
If a person is the victim of a violent crime, irrespective of whether we're talking about a male or a female or what violent crime we're talking about, that doesn't actually take away their humanity, nor does it take away their ability to make decisions for themselves and have agency. Being able to make decisions for yourself is agency. So this is why services such as Rape Crisis Service always train their volunteers to know never to make decisions for the person seeking help. That you present the options and you talk through the options, but the final decision must be made by the person who underwent the criminal act, which we now call victim, which, by the way, victim is not an identity. Victim is a positionality when a crime took place. Just to be really clear. Let's address this idea that the more you think about your own safety and taking responsibility for your own safety, the less likely you are to be led around and manipulated. I would argue that that sounds really nice, until you put some thought into it. And yeah, let's talk about critical thinking. That'd be fun. Okay, so critical thinking. The more you think about taking responsibility for your own safety, the more likely you are to limit your own freedom and to make your world smaller and smaller and smaller, because you're now hyper aware of all the dangers out there. So yeah, there's a bit of a balance to be struck on that personal level of acknowledging potential danger and living your life. And at some point in time, you've got to say, right, what risks should I be taking? Which ones are worth taking? And statistically, if you actually bother to look at statistics, which I do, it is most likely that a woman will be raped at home, in her home, between the hours of 10 a.m. and midday by someone she knows. So it's not likely, it's not the most likely, when she is walking home from the bus stop to her house after work, where if she stayed late and finished at 7 p.m. Okay? And here's the other thing that we've got to start thinking about. What happens when you've got a woman who works 3 jobs, she's barely scraping by, she doesn't have a car and she has to get public transport, and yes, she's walking home alone at night? Is it because she's stupid and doesn't care about her safety and wants something to happen? No, it's not. It's because she's trying to make ends meet.
So, I mean, I honestly think that it's a really insidious, dangerous, and destructive thing to do.
What I find insidious, dangerous, and destructive is the online rhetoric that it's all about the woman. She should have done this, she should have done that. Protect yourself. If you don't get a taxi home from the bus stop, it was your fault. Oh, whoops, it's not really your fault, but you should have taken responsibility and you didn't, so you're partially to blame. I think that rhetoric is highly irresponsible. I think that we can talk about things to be wary of, best practice if able. I think that we should not be expecting that everyone is able to take best practice at all times. And the conversation needs to shift off victims and onto perpetrators. And we really need to be looking at perpetrator statistics, perpetrator patterns of thought and behavior, and what we're actually going to do about it as a society, because what we have been doing clearly isn't working. Terri's video goes on for quite a bit longer than that. I'm not going to respond to the whole thing. I think you can get the picture of what she's talking about and what her personal view of this is from the snippets that I've given you. And there has been chunks edited out just for brevity. If you want to see the video, it's Terri Strange, and you can look it up yourself. Look, Terri Strange used to be a radical feminist, and she used to lecture people quite sternly about all of these things. So I find it a little disingenuous that she's now going, well, why? Why? What? I mean, there's only 2 possibilities here. Either she never understood her own rhetoric when she was saying it, or she is playing dumb now. One of the 2. But yeah, to get back onto the video and onto the actual point, when it comes to self-defense and taking precautions to try and avoid danger, I think we need to stop talking about stupid women who have no self-preservation and start talking about dangerous men who have no fucking conscience.